From Oshkosh Community Media Services, this is Oshkosh City Cable 10 and broadcast on 101.9 FM WOCT Oshkosh. From Oshkosh Community Media Services and the City of Oshkosh, this is the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your City Manager. Your hosts, Nick Austin from Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm your host Nick Austin and joining me as always is City Manager Mark Roloff. On today's program we will preview the upcoming agenda items for the Tuesday, May 14th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. So Mark, thanks for being here as always.
Great to be here, Nick.
Let's start off as we always do with our municipal highlights. And one of the things that we've been talking about for a long time on this program was how exciting it was going to be when this hotel downtown finally opened up. Well, guess what? That day has come and gone now. The hotel had its grand opening. Tell us about it since you were able to be part of that.
Well, it was an exciting day, to be honest with you. I talked at the grand opening about how that was probably one of the most asked questions I'd received in my 5 years I've been with the city. When are you going to do something about the hotel? But it's not just what the city's going to do, because you have you really need great collaboration in the private sector. The business people are the ones that make this happen. We help facilitate things, but this was so important. You can see Stephanie Klett, the Secretary of Tourism, was there. That's how big a deal this was, because everybody recognized how important it was for the downtown. And the beauty of the hotel and just what they've done to restore at the lobby, which is so much more welcoming than it was in the past. And the excitement that was building that day, there was an elderly woman who was there, and I think she was just sort of part of the crowd with everybody else. But I'm chatting with her, and she's involved in AFS, which is Foreign Student Exchange, and she said, I think we can have our statewide conference here. Yeah. And everybody has the ability to see the possibilities that exist with the new hotel. And the rooms are great, the convention facilities are wonderful, and the service, I actually emceed a retirement party later on that day, the day of the opening, and the service was awesome. So I don't want to be a running commercial for them, but at the same time, it's great for downtown. It's great for all the supporting businesses, because people will be going to not just the restaurant there, the ground round. They'll be going to restaurants all over the place. They'll say, "Hey, I heard there's a place that has Filipino food. There's a pizza place across the street. There's a nice coffee shop down the street." All of these places are going to benefit all of downtown, and when you think about what they've done to restore some of what was there previously, celebrate history, and just have modern amenities there that make it a modern business hotel that people can be proud of and the community can be proud of, it's just a wonderful outcome, better than I could have expected. Plus the people running it know what they're doing, they're pros at what they do, and I think you're going to see as they begin to get multi-day conventions. That's going to take a while, so this isn't going to happen overnight, but they've got the capability of being able to attract multi-day conventions to the city, to the downtown, and that's where you're going to see the big benefit here.
Absolutely. And what was your involvement? I know, because you were, as I mentioned, you were actually down there for that. How much were you involved with the ceremony, if you will? Well,
the ceremony was really just to celebrate all of the partners, and I was there simply representing the city council and the residents, and my role was to say thanks to the businesses who started it up, the community foundation, the university foundation, and then to say, we felt strongly enough about this that we were going to support this with tax increment financing. We were also partnering with them to make sure that the hotel garage, which is actually a public garage, was brought up to speed, and of course the Riverwalk, which is just another part of that. So there's a lot of things we had our hand in, but it was really more of a facilitative role, helping finance it. The hotel owners were very complimentary, saying the city is the single largest investor in the hotel. I think they wanted to recognize that the city's role was important, but it's the risk-taking that they take and are trusting them to do a good job. And that's the type of outcome you want to see with any type of redevelopment project, and I'm very happy about that.
Right. Now, moving forward, a project currently going on, and one that's going to be continued to be talked about, especially on this program, is the City Hall underground stormwater detention tank that's being put in. I know you don't have the prime view of it. Assistant City Manager John Fitzpatrick does from his office, but just talk about where that project is at, because I know that things continue to progress there.
Yeah, it's doing very well, and what you see here is the final base was poured, and it was finished on May 8th. So the floor of the tank holding all the water is now done. It's pretty much on schedule. We had some rain in April that slowed it down a little bit, but look at the details. I mean, they have to pump concrete all the way down, and there was an army of cement trucks that were in line to pour this all down. Right. And I know you got to help out a little bit, so you'll be talking a little bit more about that later on with your city at work.
Yeah, I was Andy Radig. There I am. Andy Radig and myself were fortunate enough to be included, and I actually helped pour a little bit of the concrete, and I also vibrated, puddled, I believe they call it. And I forget the last terminology.
Well, I hope you're not double dipping. You know, you work for the city, you can't work for Myron.
Right, yeah. But it was fun, and walking on that rebar. This is going to be part of, as Mark mentioned, a future Your City at Work and an In Your Shoes segment. But walking on that rebar, I mean, those guys make it look easy because it's just second nature to them. But it's almost like walking on a balance beam. You know, to an extent, it's you really got to be mindful of where you're going, as opposed to just straight walking as though you're on the sidewalk or something. So definitely look forward to editing that and showing it to people, because Myron was definitely gracious enough to let me come down there and see what they do and step into their shoes. So definitely a fun time. It's
a good informational thing, I think, that people will enjoy seeing. I can't help but say I get questions so much about this project because it's just an incredible little conversation piece. Mm-hmm. You know, I've had everything from, is this a new city hall, to is this an underground parking structure? I mean, all sorts of different things. But what a lot of people don't realize, and I was just asked about this today because somebody questioned, why are you doing this? You know, this isn't where you have flooding. And I have to remind people, we have 120 watersheds, and not all of them are named Sawyer Creek in the city. And this is what's called the Division Street watershed. And I was talking to a person today, and they didn't realize all the flooding that we have down at Jackson Street in Pearl and Division Street in Pearl, and the businesses, including our own Chamber of Commerce, that gets flooded out when you have a relatively minor type of rainfall. 2 inches is relatively minor. I mean, and we've had flooding down in this area, and that's part of controlling flooding in this watershed. So a lot of people don't realize that, and so you have to keep mentioning that we have 120 watersheds, and we have to do all of them, not just one. And this is an important one, as they all are, but this one has had a history of significant flooding, and this tank is going to take care of a lot of that.
Yeah, and I know the Stormwater Committee has a large part in helping guide where we're making improvements, so to speak.
They review those things. They take a look at, a Stormwater Committee takes a look and evaluates that in the scheme of things and says, are we on track with what we're doing? So yeah, a great board and commission that we use. Right,
and speaking of boards and commissions, right now there's actually quite a few openings. So why don't you run down what people can actually try and apply for to partake in right now?
You know, we always do PSAs telling people about, join a city board or commission, and you can apply for a board or commission anytime, and if we have an opening, we'll let you know. But this is sort of a major help wanted ad. We actually have 9 boards and commissions that you see right here that have vacancies today. Yeah. So we've got 20 total boards and commissions, but they're all important in their own right. But you can see that so many of these you may see some importance in one or the other, but they all have a certain value to the city, and citizen input is valuable. Like you said with stormwater, we have people that help us take a look at these things and take a look at it as a private citizen and say, are you doing the right thing for our community? And it keeps staff on their toes. That's important to do. So if you are at all interested in serving on a board or commission, this is probably as good a time as any for you to look at one of these boards or commissions and say, you know, maybe I'm interested in serving the city in some regard.
Well, and it is beneficial too, because I mean, one of the new council members actually has served on one of the committees for a while, correct?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he pointed that out when he was applying to council, and Council Member Clark was partially appointed, I think, because the council recognized he got on a board and commission and got involved. Now, that's not to say everybody is going to be on the council if you get on a board or commission. Sometimes, if you're interested in traffic issues, traffic review board might just be perfect for you, and that's all you want to do. But there are there's so much input that people provide on our boards and commissions. If you're the least bit interested, take a look. It's a minimal amount of time commitment. We'd certainly be happy to give you information. Call my office, 236-5002. Talk to Jackie. She'll get you information about the board or commission, or it's always on our website. The application's on our website. It's really easy to apply for a board or commission.
Yeah. Here's something that I know a little bit about, being that I helped issue the press release for it. But why don't you tell us what you know of Hydrant Flushing? The Hydrant Flushing program, I know, just recently started up here again, the annual program for the city. So what are the things that people should know, you know, the bullet points, if you will, of this?
Well, it's routine maintenance that we all do, but it has an impact, or it has a potential impact on residents. So we always like to let them know, because they may have gone away for the day and not seen it. But, you know, if there's any evidence that there's a lot of water over near a hydrant, it was probably flushed that day. And so when you do see that, recognize why we're doing it. We're not just doing it just to have fun with the water, but it really, there's a lot of sediment that accumulates on the bottom of the water mains. We don't have fires every day, so our fire hydrants don't get used a lot. And our mains sometimes get some sediment that accumulates at the bottom. So it's really to get rid of that sediment. That's primary. But so it helps in water quality, but it also helps us exercise all of our water valves, because if we have them in the open position all the time, when we need to close them for a water main break, we can't close them. So there's a lot of reasons that you do this. But for the residents who, you know, want to say, well, what's my role in this? Well, whenever we flush a main, we're cleaning out some yellowish, some gunk, and it gets a little bit of rust or something like that, iron deposits. So if you notice any maybe main flushing, or if you notice when you turn on the water first thing at this time of year, if you notice a little rust color, chances are we flush mains that day. So make sure you run water through your faucets on a pretty good system, especially if you're washing laundry. You do not want to start your laundry until you know that you've gotten the water out of your system. And so just run water a little bit. We got a press release on our website. Take a look at that as well. But you know, just have an eye out if we're flushing mains in your neighborhood, to take a few precautions to clear out your faucets before you use them.
Here's our next topic, kind of an unfortunate incident that turned into a positive outcome. I know that during this year's pub crawl, there was some taking root project trees that were damaged, but the positive to that is that someone kind of stepped up and provided some assistance that was, I guess, not expected by the city, if you will.
There's some great folks in our downtown area who realize the importance of putting their best foot forward. And yeah, some trees were damaged. About, I think, 5 trees were damaged in and around the downtown. And Chris Larson at Beckett's, along with a few other folks, said, you know, we've got to make something positive out of something negative. And even though these trees were damaged as a result of the pub crawl, they said, we want to do something better. So they did a little bit of a fundraising effort, all on Facebook, sort of how pub crawl happens, all in the virtual world. Well, they did fundraising in the virtual world, and they raised some monies to help replace those trees, because they recognize those trees really do add a good deal of aesthetic value to the downtown area.
Absolutely.
And one tree gets knocked down, well, that's one less tree for the environment, but also one less tree for aesthetics. And it doesn't then it doesn't stay uniform with everything else. So they've done it, and I can't say enough about the people in our community who take such pride that they will make an effort like this to raise money for something what people might think is insignificant as a small tree that nobody really noticed. So good for them.
Yeah, very nice effort. All right, it's that time again for the one and only question mark. Okay, Mark, someone's getting antsy. I know the River Otter exhibit was supposed to open with the zoo back early in May. So when does the Menominee Park Zoo River Otter exhibit open?
I don't want to dance around too much, but we're hoping that it's going to be open by Memorial Day. We've had some delays with the construction of the River Otter exhibit, but the good news is that we're actually filling the pool as we speak. We just started that, so that's a good sign. But it took a little time to get some of the little things done before you get going, and you don't want to put the otters in there just yet. So we hope to be done by Memorial Day. But in the meantime, we're still doing the Name the River Otters contest, and there's a deadline to name our 2 female otters. The deadline's May 17th. Check out our website. We've had some other promotions about it, but there's some prizes associated with the River Otter exhibit, naming rights, if you can be successful in that. So it's fun for families. So if you're interested, add a name to them, and hopefully by Memorial Day we'll be able to enjoy observing the river otters in their new habitat.
Absolutely. All right, well, it's time to get to our first and only break of the City Manager's Report, but stay tuned because when we return, we preview the upcoming agenda items for the Tuesday, May 14th Oshkosh Common Council meeting.
I'm Mayor Bergtauer, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
Welcome back to the City Manager's Report. Okay, as promised, it's time to get to the upcoming agenda items from the Tuesday, May 14th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. So, Mark, the first thing that kind of jumps out on this agenda is item number 6 under consent agenda items. Proposed parking lot improvements over at Riverside Park. This is really going to be done kind of in 2 phases, correct?
Right. The parking lot, it's just immediately east of the convention center. It's in pretty rough shape, and we've been dealing with a lot of soil issues underneath there because it's old industrial site. So sawdust, very soft soils. We don't think there's going to be much of any contamination, but a lot of soft soils. So we've got to check all that out, make sure there is no contamination.
Right.
So we're going to probably do it in 2 phases because it's going to be pretty expensive when we have limited funds. But now that the hotel's done, we're going to get more conventions and everything. We want to make sure that this gets done before the convention business really picks up. So we're going to start it in phases. We'll get the engineering done with this process for both phases, but then we're hoping to get some done this year and then some done in the next year or 2 as well.
Okay. Items 11 and 12, both dealing with the central garage, or what will be the new central garage in the future. And I know one of these items, item 12, is approval of land purchase. So when you purchase land to expand a facility like this, do you help with, or does the city rather help with relocation?
We're required by state law that whenever we acquire property that we have to provide relocation assistance. It varies, but we do have to assist them in identifying how much they should be compensated for us relocating them, and then identify some potential places. They still have to go out and pick the place, find it and everything.
Right.
But in this case, item 12 is to purchase the property, but item 11 is actually the person needs a permit before they can relocate their business to the location that's been identified by them. And so we're recommending that this conditional use permit be approved so this person can move their place of business. So it's part of a process that we have to follow by state law. And when we do when we do assist in some way, we keep our project moving, which is really what it's all about for us.
And what's going on with the going back to the new central garage? What's the latest there? What's going on?
We just opened bids this past week for the garage. We're currently reviewing all of the bids to make sure they're complete, make sure everything's in budget. It looks like it's in budget, but we had a lot of alternate bids, weren't sure about some things. So we're evaluating all those bids, and I would expect that we'll have the recommendation to award the bid for the central garage on the May 28th council agenda.
Items 13, 14, 17, and 18 all pertaining to, or not all, but pertaining to more vehicles switching to CNG, but we're not switching all of the vehicles to CNG, right?
Correct. These are 4 vehicles, 2 of which are going CNG. We evaluate every single vehicle. Once we've made a decision to pursue CNG, we said we don't think every vehicle is appropriate for CNG. In some cases where the CNG tank would be might interfere with the operation of the vehicle, so it doesn't make sense to put to do CNG at all.
Like over in Parks Department?
Yeah, I mean, they use their toolboxes a lot. They get in and out of it, and that's exactly where the tank is. Well, it really wouldn't be a functional vehicle if they couldn't access their tools in that.
Right.
So not every vehicle is made for CNG, but later on in the meeting, we've been asked to report on CNG and how fuel efficient and how it's been. And in our first few months, we're estimating we're probably saving 75 cents for every mile we drive our garbage trucks. Now that's just our new garbage trucks, but it's a combination of fuel and maintenance. I think it's mostly fuel. I think there was a concern expressed about maintenance, but different parts are done for different reasons. Some CNG parts must cost a little more, but overall we are still saving a significant amount of money, and it's worth looking at, but you have to evaluate it every single time to make sure it's right for the individual purchase as well as the scheme of things.
Yeah, definitely a case-by-case basis, kind of like you said. Yeah. Number 20 is approval of a special event, and this is for the Memorial Day Parade. I know that there's rules in place for special events, but for parades to utilize street services, there is no charge.
Patriotic parades are a specific exemption in our special event policy, and that was a concern when we adopted the policy a few years ago. But that was very clear by council from the get-go that patriotic events like Memorial Day, 4th of July, things like that, those are community events that we should pay for those types of parades and everything. So no charge for that. The parade will be on, rain or shine, on Memorial Day, May 27th. So get out there and show your patriotism and enjoy a very nice parade.
Yeah. Under new resolutions as we move forward, item number 27, dealing with the Geldwin property over on West 6th Avenue. So what's going on over there?
Well, you may have heard that some local folks have purchased the Geldwin site, and they knew that when they got into this that there was some old contamination in one part of the site. And as part of an economic development initiative through the state, the new agency WEDC has grants for conducting site assessments to really see what the whole problem might be with respect to petroleum contamination. So you have to have a sponsoring local government. We're that. You have to have a sponsoring business. That's the Six Rivers Investments Group. Okay. And so we're applying for a grant, and hopefully we'll get it. And the great part of it is we're applying for it, but the match is actually provided by the property owner. So we'll get the grant, and the property owner pays the rest. All we're doing is sponsoring it. And then we get an idea of what it's going to take to redevelop that site, and that's our goal. Our goal is to try to redevelop this site with trying not to use city tax dollars, and with this one, there'll be no city tax dollars involved in this this cleanup effort.
So is that the biggest, I guess, benefit to the city in your mind, is the eventual redevelopment of this site?
This site has been identified as our South Shore redevelopment area, and Geldwin, because it was such a big site, we actually kind of overlooked it because it was there, it was operating, and we said, well, we don't want to push out an existing business with what at the time was about 80 jobs. Well, now that they're closed, we really do have to take a look at that. So we have to determine what's the extent of any contamination, and then have discussions with them about what they want to do out there. They've got a bunch of ideas, but they haven't settled in on one yet. But the idea is a mixed use of commercial, residential type of thing, and of course the Riverwalk. And we'll get the Riverwalk out there eventually, and that's part of it. And they know that, and they've been very cooperative with us so far.
28 and 29, both dealing with TIF number 9. Why is the city, I guess, for lack of a better term, kind of under the gun to close this?
Tax increment districts, we don't have a lot of experience closing our tax increment districts because they're still relatively new phenomenon that we've been using. But we've just closed a couple more TIF districts, and TIF number 9, Tax Increment Financing District number 9, is over there in the southwest part of the city. And in the initial plan that was done almost 30 years ago now, a trail on Washburn was identified. Right. And our the statutes state that you have a certain amount of time to get this work done. We have to get the work done technically by June 1st of this year. If you set aside the funds in an escrow account, that's good enough, that you've met the requirement. So if we're going to do a trail out there, we need to set aside those funds and make a declaration that we're going to do it right now, and so we get the money set aside. And then 29, assuming council approves the escrowing of those funds, then we're going to hire an engineering firm to begin working on the scope of the work to put a trail in there. This isn't about Country USA, because Country USA wasn't even in existence at the time that the TIF was created. We always said we need to get a trail down Washburn. It's in our trail plan. So this is our opportunity to perhaps get it funded with tax increment dollars rather than general city tax dollars. Okay, and real quick, just one final item. Talk about a future agenda item, the upcoming workshop. The Apartment Association of Winnebago County has asked the council to meet with them to talk about a variety of issues, and the council agreed to that. That'll be at our May 28th meeting. It'll start at 5 o'clock, so just a workshop where they can get some dialogue. There's no specific agenda from the city. The Apartment Association just wants to talk to council. All right, Mark, well, thanks for the time. And before we officially close the book on this edition of the City Manager's Report, one quick note. We want to thank our intern, Kristen, for her time spent here with us at Oshkosh Community Media Services. She's actually helped us out with this program, with Oshkosh Today, bulletin board, State of the City, a lot of different items. So we really appreciate her time spent here. And that'll do it for this edition of the City Manager's Report. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.